Hello. Um, yeah. I'm so terrible at intros. So we're back with some more fanfiction readings. This will be essentially the last in terms of in order I've started them of the fanfictions that were requested by somebody, probably like a very, very long time ago. The Blake and Pyrrha ones, which I'm assuming that this one is not a whole lot of Blake and Pyrrha. It's more of like this type of thing over here. So, yeah. I'm assuming there's going to be some of this, but it's just not going to be as prevalent as these because, yeah. Because literally the summary has nothing to do with Blake or Pyrrha. And, yeah. So, that's about all I got there. Yeah. So, obviously this is still here because I need them for the links. I probably could just copy paste them, but yeah. I put just completely random shit in that document anyways. I need to figure out what to do with it. Okay, yeah. I don't know what to do. We got one chapter. It's probably going to be quite short, so, it's going to be different from most of the other ones, which tend to be very long, especially the last one, which I read literally 2 stories, which were basically just 2 chapters of the same story, just split into 2 stories. So I'm glad I read both of them at the same time because it made a bit more sense and it worked. They worked well together. They were good stories. So I recommend either going and reading them or watching the video. Either is good. Either's good by me. And of course we're the sort of longer series of reading this, which actually has 15 chapters, written by the same person that this one's written by. So, yeah, we'll see how this goes. This story isn't terrible, but it's not like I think I just really like the setting of these 2 stories. So, me being like this is one of the best stories I've read is a little bit higher praise I can give this, which it's still pretty good. And obviously we'll see how this one is. So, good God. long author's note. We'll get to the end of this. Okay, so White Knight by AdamGrayson. I didn't say that yet, but that's what the title says, so you should already know. Wei Schnee was irritated beyond belief. The bane of her day was the same bane as most other days, Ruby Rose, though today the reasoning behind it was completely different than other days, but still somehow the exact same. It was quite complicated, honestly. Ruby Rose was childish, so childish in fact she could not realize Weiss was flirting with her. The white-haired girl finally realized she was attracted to the younger girl, and after what the come on! I'm doing shit right now. What the fuck is happening? I don't mean to get in the middle of this, just stop and talk about that, but this computer has been on for a very long time today. Okay? It's been on since not a very long time. It's been on since 10-ish, which means it's been on for 5 hours. Now, pretty soon after I turned it on, I open up Epic Games because it is in fact Thursday. If you were to look at the date and figure it out on a calendar, it is in fact a Thursday. So I was going for the free games of the week, and I opened it, and obviously I got them and whatever. I've moved on with my life. I don't need to download them. I'm just getting them. So then I, do nothing, really. I mean, I played some other games and did a bunch of other stuff for a while. Anytime during the time that I was not next to my computer, not doing anything, those could have came up, and that could have figured it out. And I mean, obviously, it's not going to do anything because I'm not there, because I was, in a different room. But it's just like, you could have done that so long ago and not right now while I'm in the middle of something. Like, honestly. It always does this. Anyways, let's get back to the story, which is more important than just the... Okay. This is going to be weird. I can already tell you. Oh, no. Okay. Ruby did not catch on, prompting Weiss to make her flirtations more obvious. Ruby still did not understand. Yang was nearby and gave her a knowing but pitiful look, which infuriated the girl more. Weiss tried everything she knew, touching Ruby's arm while she looked at her with her ice blue eyes. Ruby just smiled at her and kept on what she was talking about. She would give the red-haired girl a flirtatious smile and talk in a seductive voice, but Ruby would look at her oddly. Weiss even got desperate and put her hand very close to Ruby's backside. Ruby just questioned why her hand was so low, and Weiss pulled away embarrassed. It was quite obvious Ruby had no experience in dating or such things. Perhaps she was still too much of a child to understand love, or perhaps she was purposely ignoring Weiss's advances simply because she wasn't interested. If she weren't interested, she could still have the decency to tell Weiss to her face. Instead of going with the rest of Team Ruby to practice together, Weiss refused to go, giving the curious Ruby the excuse of extra work to do. They didn't have classes together all day, so Ruby relented and the trio left, though she heard Blake excuse herself from practice as well. Weiss sighed as they left and dropped onto her bunk. As she stared up into Ruby's bed, she scoffed. The setup for this room was terribly dangerous. If there was even one wrong move, the bed would come crashing down on her. Why did they think this was safe? It was Ruby's idea, true, but Yang and Blake also let this slide. Why didn't they go and get actual bunk beds, or set their beds up like Juniper? Just because Ruby was so childish to want bunk beds? In the end, she did relent herself, but she was being a supportive teammate. Deciding to get all thoughts of Ruby off her mind, Weiss stood and exited Ruby's dorm, closing the gap and knocking on Juniper's. Pyrrha opened the door and gave Weiss a friendly smile. "Hello, Weiss." Being Pyrrha, she noticed the look on the girl's face and worriedly asked, "Is everything all right?" Weiss nodded. "I'm fine, Pyrrha. I merely have things on my mind. I do not wish to think or talk about them. So you came over here so we can distract you? Nora's good at that, but you'll get confused as well." Pierre gave her another smile before stepping aside to let the fencer in. "I cannot stay to help, sadly. I have prior plans. Have fun." With that, Pierre was out the door. Weiss found herself looking at the remaining members of Juniper. Nora and Ren were playing some type of card game on Nora's bed, both sitting with their legs crossed, while Jean rested on his bed cleaning Crocea Moors with the shield in his lap. Whatever. Jean stopped his cleaning and to look up and give Weiss a flirtatious smile. "Hey, Snow Angel." And of course that's the first thing out of his mouth, Weiss thought angrily. She had gotten used to John's flirting at this point. It seemed to be his thing, and she didn't ever think he was being serious. However, she was in no mood to deal with it. "God, Ark, I'm not in the mood to deal with your flirting. In fact, I'm tired of flirting for one day." Weiss snapped, walking to the foot of his bed. Her outburst managed to pull Nora and Ren away from their game. Ren spoke in his calm voice. "Was Carden flirting with you again?" "Thank God he wasn't." Weiss almost puked at the mere thought. "No, I don't want to talk about it. I wanted you to take my mind off of it." Nora beamed. "Oh, I can tell you my latest dream. See, it was medieval times. And I was queen of..." Thankfully for Weiss, Sean intervened. "Actually, Weiss, why don't you and I go see out? It could help if you get away from Beacon for a while." Realizing Jean was trying to get away from the story about God knows what, and that was a fair point, Weiss jumped to her feet. "Good idea, Vomit Boy, let's go." John groaned at the old and embarrassing name, but followed the Ice Queen out the door. The duo were quiet for the walk out of the dorms, but once they started heading towards Vale, Jean finally asked, "Weiss, I'm not making you mad, am I?" Weiss frowned in confusion and looked up at the boy. Why would you be making me mad? You saved it from Nora's story. Speaking of which, where are we going? I don't know if that's necessarily speaking of which, but sure. Blake told me about this cafe she went to when you guys were having an argument about her being in the White Fang. John said, I thought we could go there. Weiss nodded. Now why would you be making me mad? John frowned slightly, with the flirting. His companion gave a soft laugh before speaking. What? No, of course not. You've been flirting with me since the semester started, John. I know by now you don't mean anything by it. John's face fell in disappointment. Weiss noticed and stopped. What's wrong? John shook his head. Nothing, I'm fine. Come on, that cafe isn't too far. Without waiting for an answer, John quickly walked ahead of her. Weiss stared at his back, confused but nonetheless followed him. Great. Sorry. I completely got lost. God, I'm so awful. Okay. They finally arrived at the cafe, Sean getting the directions incorrect and taking a few wrong turns along the way. Once they had finally managed to get a seat at a table outside, though the view to the next table was distorted by an oddly placed wall, and the menus they too fell... Oh, God. Oh, and menus they too... Oh, Jesus Christ. Fell into an uncomfortable silence. John didn't seem to be in the best of moods anymore, but at least Weiss wasn't thinking about her. Weiss looked at John over the menu. He wasn't ugly by any means. In fact, Weiss thought he was quite handsome. He merely had no confidence, and not everyone could be as patient as Pyrrha. Weiss suspected she had a crush on her leader, but didn't have any proof, and it was quite rude to ask something like that of someone. Yang was sure they both liked each other, but neither would tell the other. John's voice made the fencer jump. What'd he say? What'd you say? Way to voice your thoughts there, Weiss. Didn't you have field practice with your team today? The boy asked. Weiss nodded. Yes, but I didn't feel like joining them today. Aren't you always the one that says you need to practice every day? John asked, with a grin. Weiss glared at him. I'll have you know. The waiter interrupted Weiss' tirade before it could start. John lay on a breath in relief. Unfortunately for him, once the waiter left with their menus, Weiss' cold glare was back on him. He decided to interrupt before she could start. You want to talk about what happened today? The irritation grew in her eyes. No. John nodded and took a sip of the water the waiter had brought. He could understand that, but he was still curious about what happened. Okay. Weiss was surprised he let it go so easily, but she wasn't going to complain. The two were once again in silence, but this time she didn't like it. John was usually more talkative, even if it was just for a horrible line of his. John, are you okay? Huh? Oh yeah, I'm fine, John said, not exactly meeting her eyes. Well, if you're sure. Weiss nodded. Their waiter returned with their food, and Weiss thanked him in her proper manner. John merely nodded his appreciation and started shoving food in his mouth. Weiss rolled her eyes. You're as bad as Yang. John gave her an inquisitive look, but she shook her head and proceeded to eat in a much more civil manner. Weiss? Jean spoke after a quiet minute. Weiss looked up from her food. Yes? The nervous boy started to play with his food, chasing a meatball around the spaghetti with his fork. You really think I don't mean it when I flirt with you? Weiss blinked. Yes, you never really seemed to mean it after the first week. In all honesty, I thought you... Weiss stopped as she heard a very familiar giggle. One she never heard that often, so upon hearing it, she knew exactly who it was. She spun around, spinning out of the chair and gracefully onto her feet, looking over the wall. Blake? Blake was indeed sitting at a table across from someone with familiar red hair. Amber eyes lit up at her name. Weiss? The redhead spun around and Weiss blinked when she recognized Pyrrha. What are you doing here? Pyrrha countered. I could say the same. Weiss, I can explain, Blake said quickly. Jean walked over to them, wondering what was going on. Blake? Pyrrha? Hello again. Pyrrha smiled at him. Blake looked from Jean to Weiss. You're here with Jean? It's not... Pyrrha interrupted Weiss. Jean, you finally asked her out. See, I told you all you had to do was ask for a chance. Blake blinked. Wait, you're dating Jean? Then why are you flirting with Ruby earlier, Weiss? Two sets of blue eyes, one in embarrassment and terror, the other in surprising confusion. What, a chance? A chance at what? Weiss snapped, turning from Pierre to Jean. Pierre frowned, realizing her mistake. Oh dear. Jean looked at Weiss. You were flirting with Ruby? It's not. Damn it, Blake. Blake frowned guiltily. Sorry, Weiss. What are you two doing out here anyway? Weiss asked angrily, hoping to avoid the questions, but giving John a look just to make sure she knew she was coming back to him. Pierre turned almost as red as her hair. Blake and I are on a date. It's our 1-month anniversary. Pierre, we said we'd wait to tell them, Blake chastised the athlete. I know, kitten, but after what we just blurted out, they deserved it. Blake blushed at the pet name and just nodded. Weiss frowned, a bit hurt. Wait, so you've been going out for a month and neither of you told us? Blake sighed. Weiss, it's not that we didn't want to tell you. We wanted to see where it went first. Why tell everyone if we don't last a week? We were actually going to tell you soon. Pierre nodded. It's going quite well. She had a goofy smile on her face. I thought you and Jean liked each other. Weiss said. Pierre stared at her. What? No, Jean and I are just friends. Jean nodded. It's true. I knew Pyrrha was sneaking off a lot lately, but I didn't know where she was going. Damn it. Blake was annoyed her time with her secret girlfriend was interrupted. She stood up and grabbed Pyrrha's hand. Babe, come on. We still have that movie to go to. Besides, these two have their own problems to talk about. Pyrrha nodded as she stood. You're right, dear. We'll see you later. Pyrrha gave them warm smiles before Blake let her off. She called back, We're sorry again. Sorry. Oh my god. Okay. John shrugged. Oh wait, no, hold on. Wrong paragraph. Weiss spun to Jean and pointed his slim finger to their table. Sit. Jean went to argue but sighed and sat back in his chair. Weiss sat across from him and crossed her arms. What was Pyrrha talking about? She was pretty sure she knew, but she wanted to hear it. Jean shrugged. I don't know. Jean Arc. I think this was a bad day to read because I can't do this right now. I'm having a hard time doing this. It's gonna have to happen, but ugh. Okay. Jean shrugged. I don't know. Jean Arc. God, I can't say that well. Jean jumped at the tone of her voice and sighed. Okay, it's the truth. I really like you, Weiss. That's why I'm always flirting. I just never had the guts to ask you out. You mean you just wanted my pants, right? Like Card and all the other guys. Weiss rolled her eyes. What? No, I like you. Weiss rolled her eyes. Sure, well look, I'm not interested, Jean. I like Ruby, as you heard Blake say. So you're a lesbian, Jean questioned. What? No, I like guys too. Jean nodded. I'm a guy. From how you were earlier, Ruby isn't interested. Jean sighed. Look, I'm not asking for a relationship. I just want a chance. Just one date. If you don't like it, we'll never have another one. I'll stop asking. Weiss seemed to ponder that for a moment. If anything, it could get Ruby to finally notice her. Who knows, maybe she'll enjoy it. Giving John a chance wouldn't hurt, right? She smiled. Okay, John, you get one chance. Dinner and a movie, Friday night. Meet me here at 5. With that, Weiss stood up and left. John blinked, not believing he heard what he heard. He pinched his arm and jumped at the pain. Then his confused frown turned to a big smile. He finally got a date with Weiss. He had to make it perfect and woo her now, or he'd never get another chance. He didn't even care if she left him with the bill today. He had plans to make. Oh, boy. Okay. that was certainly a story there. Not a whole lot of Blake and Pyrrha. But there isn't a lot of stories like that because, well, I mean, it's not really a common interaction, those two. But anyways, I'm just causing problems. All right, so that was that. I got nothing else to say really. That's the end of the story. Yeah, I don't know. Next time will be another part of Life Isn't a Fairy Tale, and then after that, I have no idea because I haven't, well, even really like looked at any possible stories. So, yeah, like I haven't like looked at what I could possibly read next. I will obviously once I get around to doing the next part, but yeah, we will have to see. Other than that, you know, do things. I got nothing. Do things, and we'll end the video here. Because I got nothing else to say. Because I got nothing. Too speechless for this. And I gotta go to the bathroom. I don't know why I'm so, like, giggly right now. It's just what happened. It's just what's happening, and I just can't. I don't think I can properly read just something as dumb as this. Oh, I don't even know why I'm laughing necessarily. Go ahead, end the video.